There is no shortage of great nutritional advice on the internet nowadays. I think people run into a problem where they become overwhelmed with the amount of things on the internet and then they search out the simplest answer, which is not always the right answer. But the simplest answers usually involve things that are far too complex for the goal that they're trying to achieve in that moment. So we're going to take a look today at 5 of the lowest hanging fruit for fat loss. Basically, these are the things that anyone and everyone can and should be doing. I think a lot of people overcomplicate the process, not necessarily overcomplicate the process, but they put a lot of pressure and demand on themselves to be perfect with everything they do, with like tracking calories, things like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through 5 very simple lifestyle changes that we can make that will positively impact our progress towards fat loss goals. The first step is, you know what got you fat. You don't wake up one day 30 pounds overweight and no idea what the fuck to do with yourself. Sometimes you do. Sometimes that's just a moment where your consciousness kicks in and you actually recognize what's happened over the last however long it took you to gain that weight. But for the most part, when we start to implement changes that are unhealthy, so not packing our lunches, eating out every day, overindulging in things that we know we kind of shouldn't be, there is some kind of feedback in the meantime where we pick up on and we ignore, or we notice, we tell ourselves we should fix it, and then we don't fix it. So those things that you have noticed as you got to the state that you're in now, where you're actually wanting to reverse the process and become not fat anymore, those are the things that you need to change first. So not eating out every day, not overindulging, monitoring your portion sizes. To be honest, the easiest thing you could do is just never eat until you're absolutely stuffed. Just eat until you're satiated. That's the biggest thing. You know what you need to do. You know that McDonald's is not serving you the things that you need to lose weight. There's just some part of you that hasn't accepted that as a reality yet, and that's why you are becoming super hyper focused on all of these small little supplemental things that are a much smaller chunk of the overall picture. So you need to recognize that you already know what you need to do. You just need to go and execute and do it. All right, number 2, not all events are food events. So a big problem is thinking that every single weekend that there is an event on, friends are doing stuff, family are doing stuff, that we need to be out eating food, drinking alcohol, doing all that kind of stuff. So definitely not the case. I remember when I personally had just hired my coach, I sat down with my girlfriend after his initial consultation call and I said, hey, coach wants me to stick exactly to the plan for 4 weeks. That means no off-plan meals, no date nights. I know that will put a bit of a strain because we normally go out for dinner, we go get a couple of drinks, we go do this, we go do that. For date nights now, let's just do like a movie out and we'll eat dinner at home. And like, it's still a date night, it's still something you are getting out and getting active and doing, but it is not related in any way to food or alcohol or that kind of thing. So that's probably the biggest thing you can do. Family, if they support you, they will support this. So you just need to make sure that you're very clear with them, like, this is why I'm doing this. I think it's the best for my health to do this. And if they don't really support that decision, then you can start to look at just removing yourself from the situations where the food or the alcohol is kind of an expectation. If you go to your family and you just say, hey, you know, I know we said we'd all meet up this weekend for drinks and stuff. I'm probably just going to drink Coke Zero. I'll drive everyone there. It's all good. Just know I'm not being a cunt by not drinking. I'm just trying to look after myself and try to reach my goals. So not all events need to be food and drink events. We can create events that don't involve that. So if you want to catch up with your friends, that's fine. Normally you go to breakfast, great. Go for a coffee, go for a walk, go for a swim, create connection. Don't be the asshole that says no to everything because you think it might involve food or extra calories. That's probably going to be more detrimental to your progress in the long run. So you need to find strategies and ways where you can go out, do those social things without impacting the goal. Number 3, protein and veggies first, then the rest. So if you're someone who struggles with overeating, what you'll probably find is if your meals are almost entirely comprised of protein and vegetables, you'll cease to struggle overeating. As lean protein sources you can, and vegetables that are high in fiber and micronutrients themselves, they're going to, 1, increase the volume of your food without the calorie density that something like rice, potatoes, things like that would. And because of that, you are going to consume less calories for the same amount of satiation. Just pay attention to that. Make sure that when you are eating the protein and veg, you are still getting some form of carbohydrate in. You don't want to be basically forcing yourself into keto because I told you to protein and veg first. But nice big serve of veg for those of you who don't track or weigh your food. I say like a fist-sized or cupped hand size of like veg with whatever protein source you have. And then from there, you can implement Ideally some lower caloric index stuff. So not so much things like jasmine rice, but maybe brown rice can have more volume per like 100 grams. Basically, if you start with protein and veg, you'll find it very hard to overeat in any capacity. Cool. Number 4, your current habits are already a framework for you to be able to build off and achieve your goals. A lot of people think that losing weight has to do with this massive lifestyle change, where you need 4 hours of a weekend to prep your food, freeze your food, and then you can only eat the same things every day. It's just not the case. When we talk about lowest hanging fruit, usually the difference between gaining weight and losing weight are very simple lifestyle factors like we've already discussed. And this next one is just literally taking the habits that you already have. So you wake up and eat a bowl of cereal for breakfast in the morning. Great, you can eat a smaller bowl of cereal. That's the easiest win there. A big one, and I used to encounter this a lot when I was working as a dock hand at Bunnings. In the break room, a lot of people would just forget their lunch. Like, it happens all the time. You rush out the door of a morning, you forget your lunch, and then what happens is they go onto Uber Eats and they order in Guzman's or KFC or something like that. What that creates is this sort of reinforcement that if you forget your lunch, you can have this like really super tasty food that's particularly dense in calories and definitely isn't serving your goals. So take that exact same habit. Okay, I forgot my lunch. I'm gonna order Uber Eats. On Uber Eats, there is a 7-Eleven that is probably very close to you. Go onto that 7-Eleven in Uber Eats, order a My Muscle Chef. You now have your lunch sorted for you, and it's way closer to serving you for your goals, particularly if you have some kind of understanding of the calories in each My Muscle Chef meal. You can start to be like, okay, well, I'm having this for dinner. It's about this many calories. So I'm gonna have this because it's a little bit less because it's closer to what I was gonna have for lunch anyways. So playing around with that, picking the high protein option in those sort of situations where you're on the fly, they're really good. Another one, on the way home from work, you normally stop at Macca's, get a cheeseburger and a Coke or something before you get home to cook dinner. So easy sub out, stop at the servo, you can probably refuel the car, probably needs to be refueled anyways. Grab a Rokby's chalky milk, like a Rokby's protein chalky milk. Protein first again, as always. You'll get your protein in, you'll still feel satiated when you get home. And we haven't really changed the routine, we've just changed the location that you have to go to, which is a service station, which is probably next to the McDonald's anyways. So that's probably the biggest one, is that you don't need to do this drastic lifestyle change and allow 45 minutes to cook each meal. Like, you can just take those habits and they'll serve you in a much more comprehensive way. Okay, we just went through 4. I basically didn't mention tracking calories once. Number 5, track calories like you would track your finances. A lot of people have this stipulation in their head that tracking calories will make them unhealthy or feed into some kind of mental illness that they may have or may not have. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it has nothing to do with it, because I know people who definitely struggle with tracking calories and it has a bit of a toll mentally on them. But for most of the population, tracking calories should not have this sort of negative connotation to it. Tracking calories should be seen as the same thing as you tracking your finance. You track finances so you can make rent, which keeps a roof over your head, which keeps electricity in that house, which keeps heating in that house. Tracking the finances to make sure that all of that stuff is paid and then we're saving money on top of that. Staying in shape is essentially like having the roof over your head. It keeps you healthy, it makes you present better for job opportunities, it makes you present better for potential mates. Because of that, it should be taken as seriously as finance. So the way you would save money and track your expenses and track your budget, track your income, you should be tracking calories, should be tracking expenditure to an extent. Probably not that important at this stage. Like I said, these are the 5 lowest hanging fruits. So this one is just learn how to use a tracking app of your discretion, and you can build off that. That's basically it. So 5 low hanging fruit that will keep you in shape, let you get in shape, and make fat loss a lot easier on your mental.